Hey there. Earlier on today I did a kind of a collection update, letting you know what I got today. And so when I was reading the responses and stuff to it, I kind of noticed that a lot of people didn't, not sure they didn't know, they weren't aware of one of the series that I picked up. Everybody was aware of, and it was kind of disconcerting. Because I'm a big fan, especially of cult television. Everybody knew what the A-Team was. This face, maybe because of the movie, maybe because, Americans play it a lot, and here in Canada too. But not a lot of people knew much about this. Blake 7. So, I thought we'd kind of do an overview. Kind of get people up to speed. Blake 7 was a very dark show. It's not a Doctor Who, though there are some Doctor Whoian connections. For instance, Blake 7 was a series that was created about kind of an Orwellian future where society, well, the grip on society has become very, very dark. And what we see here is that Raj Blake plays a family guy. He's at the beginning of the series, his family has been massacred. They've been murdered in this complete massacre by the government. His mind has been completely wiped to take it away. Unfortunately, that doesn't work. So, how dark does this show get? Well, Blake is arrested and framed with a crime. But not just any crime. They frame Blake, the character of Raj Blake, as a child molester. Yeah, this show starts really dark. What eventually happens is that Blake gets out, takes on a kind of a motley crew that really of criminals or wrongly convicted people or people that were convicted for certain things, to basically get out there, takes a ship called the Liberator, and immediately takes that ship, goes over to a prison planet, and breaks out some of the people that he met there in the prison that he knows that can help him advance, like the cause. It's the rebels, and not the Star Wars rebels. These rebels actually are dirty and grungy, and they're not all pretty. Imagine if you had a bunch of Han Solos with like kind of different things. We've got Avon, who is like the manipulative guy. He's a computer expert, and he knows his stuff. I think it's a character, a girl, the hottie. She's the only one that can like control the ship. And this show goes in some really dark places. And we have some great guest stars along the way too. Michael Gough shows up, of course, of Batman fame. The guy who played Alfred, and the guy was in all those Hammer movies back in the day. We have Colin Baker, future Doctor Who, shows up. And as I mentioned in my last video, Richard Hurdle. There's a lot. Julian Glover, of course, who many people know from the Doctor Who episode City of Death, among all the movies and stuff that he's done. The show goes in some very dark places, and it doesn't just stay safe. A lot of these shows kind of go into the whole space opera thing. It stays pretty safe. This one doesn't. This one kills off characters. This one kills off major characters. Characters leave and don't come back for a long, long time. Characters die, and they stay dead. We lose characters in the second series of the show. And we lose a major character by the opening of the third series. If you get a chance to watch this show, don't look for any spoilers beforehand. It's a horrible thing to do for yourself. And the ending will shock you. You definitely will not see it coming. The show is a very different, a very dark take on science fiction at a time when science fiction was very light. And it managed to do this on a minuscule budget. It was created by Terry Nation, of course, who created the Daleks in Doctor Who, of course, and made the series Survivors. It was produced by David Maloney. And if Dave Maloney's name kind of rings a little bit familiar, if you're a Doctor Who fan, that's because many of your favorite Doctor Who episodes were probably directed by him. In fact, the #1 Doctor Who episode of all time, Genesis of the Daleks, was directed by David Maloney. And he produced this show for the first 3 seasons. Then, the 4th season, I think it's very somebody. But it gets even darker. And why? Because of the guy that produced the fourth season produced Doom Watch. Yeah. So, but it's not all gloom and doom. There's some cool stuff along the way. This character of Avon right there will pretty much become the main character of the show. We have Civilian, who is the main antagonist, the female character. They were originally going to make her like all military and stuff like that, but she had very short hair, kind of like think of the girl from Superman 2. And anyways, they decided to make her look more like evening gown and feminine and stuff like that, and it really plays well with the character. The manipulation kind of shows through even more. She's like a really big Joan Collins in space. And of course we have Gareth Thomas, who is Blake. Blake's journey is an incredible one. And this series has a definitive beginning, a middle, and an end. But that hasn't stopped it. Since Blake 7's gone off the air, there's been rumors of the show coming back on in some form or another, miniseries, movie, cartoon series, since the beginning, since it's gone off the air. Right now, in fact, there is another rumor that there's been two in the last year, that this show is going to be brought back by a certain company. And it didn't happen yet. And what's the latest one? That this show is being rebooted to go to the Xbox One. It's one of the new science fiction shows. That's actually with Netflix and Amazon and Sony trying to get into this stuff, and Xbox trying to get into this, and new Amazon Fire stuff coming out. Unlike years ago, now I see it's only a matter of time before Blake 7 hits the screens again. And if they stick at all true to the way it was done before, it was a hell of a ride. And if any of this sounded familiar, you know, like a bunch of criminals taking over a ship and stuff like that, Joss Whedon cribbed it to do a series called Firefly. There was a lot of similarities. Too many not to notice that Joss Whedon watched Blake 7. And I love Firefly. It's in my collection in DVD and Blu-ray. And now I've got the show that spawned it, Blake 7. If you can get the chance to get this for a decent price, I obviously got this for one hell of a price. I went to a Salvation Army where a bunch of shows are. I wanted the Blake 7 show. There was a lot of stuff I wanted there. I'm a huge fan. I'm a writer, and I'm a huge fan of writing. So to go in today and see this and West Wing was a mecca thing. Because two of the best written shows that I can think of right now. I passed on West Wing because, well, convention's coming up, and I gotta stay, you know, focused a bit. If I hadn't picked up the earlier stuff, I probably would have. But I think I got the better deal, finishing a series, you know, kind of my 80s kitschy type shows. We'll talk about the A-Team another time. Which I think is very underrated, and John Ashley should get a lot more credit than he does. To go from... Anyway, we'll get that into in my A-Team conversation. But this keeps changing. This starts out very dark. It gets lighter, can get a little silly, it doesn't have high special effects. But the good thing about that is that because it didn't have the high special effects, it had to rely on the storytelling. It had to rely on the characterization. And you may, in some ways, say that it got a little soapy. But any show that runs multiple seasons, unless it's a complete failure, gets slightly soapy. X-Files. Anything. You can't run on the exact same premise week after week after week. Your characters have to grow. And some people see that as the serialization.
Well, it's either that or Monster of the Day. So.
And that doesn't work. What happens when you have Monster of the Day? The series ends. Night Stalker. Great show. Cool monster of the day. Needed progression. And I mean the original Night Stalker. But this one lasted four series, 52 episodes. Not too bad. But right now, my throat's a little scratchy, and I gotta go grab a drink. So Google Blake 7. Check it out. YouTube, some videos on it. But don't watch The Cult of Blake 7. It's a really, really good half-hour documentary, but it gives away everything. I'm still looking to get that one again. I think it's on YouTube. But I want to get the Cult of series. I used to have it like on a in digital format, downloaded, because you couldn't get it anywhere. But I don't know. I'm gonna look on Amazon, see if it's there. I'm still looking for there's for some reason they put out a bunch of EastEnders documentaries on like different characters and stuff like that, which I really find really cool to watch. But the only way you could get them, you couldn't buy them. You could get them from like online. And it was this great novel. I like to own my stuff. That's why Coronation Street Secrets is in my collection, because you know it's okay to download, but if I download something, it's temporary till I get it. And as you guys can tell, I like to get it. Probably a little bit too much. Thanks for watching, and for me right now, it's my throat's going, and it is time for tea.